agree with you. I thought that Brock Purdy had a really unbelievable game, especially we talk about the offense kind of being stagnant for that first half. It felt like the game plan Kyle Shanahan tried to carry over was like the one from the Eagles, where he was doing a more Jimmy G, like dink and dunk type offense, where he was relying on his playmakers to get yards after the catch. And that seemed to not be working against Seattle. Seattle seemed to, really have all their defenders up in the box. The runs were getting stuffed right away. The short dump off passes that normally can go for extra yards were getting, 1 to 5 yards max. And I felt like it was that dot to Ayuk that was down the field that kind of finally started switching around the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of good plays. The Christian McCaffrey touchdown. I think Deebo might have had a touchdown right before that. But those plays didn't seem like the offense got in a rhythm. It seemed like just like kind of fluke explosive plays by like really good playmakers. When Purdy threw that touchdown to Ayuk, I felt like the game really changed then. And he carried on doing that. I think he did it like 2 to 3 times a quarter for the third and fourth quarter. And I felt like that spread the defense out and kept them honest. And then you notice that those Christian McCaffrey runs were going for more. George Kittle got involved. I feel like whenever he's getting involved in the offense, you kind of know that the offense is being successful, because that doesn't always happen. How did you feel about this game maybe strengthening Brock Purdy's case to be MVP? I think Christian McCaffrey you and I have talked about him being the MVP of this offense as a whole, but I wonder if with the emergence of Deebo Samuel last game and then this game kind of acting like he's the best player, if that kind of takes away from Christian McCaffrey's case and maybe leans more on Brock Purdy because he is the guy at least distributing the football to these playmakers. How do you feel about that? Do you think he should be in that MVP conversation? And do you feel differently about who's, leading this offense, or do you think it's just kind of game by game?
Yeah, no, he's definitely in the conversation. And honestly, this game, it's funny because last week his case for a lot of people why he was the favorite is because like he went in there, he threw for this, and he beat the Eagles. When it's like, yeah, but how much of that was really because of Deebo? This one, yeah, he had some rack, but you could see like how that guy had like 8 amazing dimes that were just like so like first down, chunk plays, touchdown plays, like scrambled out. Like that was like that last game was way more special than it was against the Eagles. So it's like one had a storyline with him. Like, hey, now the Niners have their guy back. They go in Philadelphia. They beat them. They curb stomp them. Now you come back home, and then he puts on the real performance where he looks like so freaking amazing. And he had a bad start to start the game, which is fine if you had a bad start. It's really how you finish versus how you start. So he pretty much for like 95% of that game, not even 98% of that game, was freaking untouchable. So, yeah, he's for sure in the MVP conversation because, well, quarterbacks are always going to be in it. And as much as I really like McCaffrey being in it, he's not going to get it. You already know who mine is still going to be. Tyreek Hill, most likely. He's probably going to go off again today for like 8 catches, 800 yards, what it feels
bet
like.
On the game? Did you bet on the game?
No, we don't talk about those anymore. Anyways, but yeah, so it's going to obviously be between him and Dak, what feels like it. But there's still a lot of game left, for him to really run away with it or hurt himself. But honestly, I think we're really going to pick who's going to, if we really want to make an MVP discussion, it's probably going to be Dak because, Cowboys like are more known, I guess you would say. So all that stuff. I mean, they're surging.
Similar numbers to Purdy.
And Purdy can be like, well, you got McCaffrey, all these players, which is like, and where Dak just really has like CeeDee Lamb, and I guess you can mention Pollard and a slew of other solid players. But
also, even though Mike McCarthy has the Super Bowl, I feel like people respect Kyle Shanahan times 1,000 more than they do him.
Oh yeah, because people will probably give that more to Aaron Rodgers. But proving doubters wrong. Look, if people still had doubts about Purdy like a month ago, you're freaking ridiculous. Like I mean. Like the only doubts I had about him, and I was like, how is he going to fare a comeback? Because that was the concerns we had. Look, he showed that if they're down by multiple scores, that he might try to force it. That's how he had those games where back-to-back picks, right? So, but it's like if you're not in that situation in the first place, then who cares? It's the same way. Like, what's the best way to defend the tush push from the Eagles? Don't put yourself in that situation, right? So it's literally defending without actually like being there to defend it.
The only issue is I do expect at some point before winning a Super Bowl that the 49ers will be in a situation where they have to come from behind.
But
now, maybe not.
If you think
Maybe
about
not.
that, who's going to do that? The Eagles? The Eagles, I think the Niners are going to sun them the rest of the way. Honestly, the Cowboys might be the best chance because remember last year, like even when they came to town for the divisional game, like that was a very tight-knit game that it took a couple of impressive Purdy muster drives to really get them to move the ball. So that would be the closest one, but I just don't know how. I don't see who's really going to. It's one thing to punch the 49ers in the mouth. There's another one to punch them and just continually keep throwing shots at them. Who's going to do that? The Lions? I don't see anyone. I don't.
What if the 49ers meet with the Dolphins in the Super Bowl? The Dolphins are a high-powered offense. I think they're better than last
the Niners
year.
all the way for that one. Talk about betting. I'm betting the Niners heavily.
I feel like that would be fun to see. Like
Tyreek Hill will get his number. Tyreek Hill will probably have like 10 catches for 180 yards, and the 49ers will still win like 21-31 or something like that.
Okay.
Honestly, like maybe Kansas City. The AFC, it's really honestly what's going to be crazy.
This is side note, but have you seen Patrick Mahomes complaining about referees?
Oh, yeah, I think that's them cracking and being like throwing the lame duck. It's like, well, it's not really the refs. It's really your idiot teammates like Tony, MVS not catching that ball a couple weeks ago or whenever it was. So they're in shambles. I'm very confident the 49ers can beat any team in the AFC, and we already know they can beat the top teams in the NFC. Like, who's stopping them? You know, who's really stopping them? No one. It's really themselves.
I'm just going to address the comments super quickly. Tony Kolup says, so is Purdy still dinking and ducking, or is our QB throwing deep now, asking for a friend? So he's been throwing down the field fairly consistently for at least the last month or so. But in this game, he definitely did it the most. I feel like the Seahawks kind of dared him. They were like, we're going to take away this underneath throw, and if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us deep. And I think that's what Jose was saying made this game the most impressive is you kind of saw the most well-rounded game from Brock Purdy that you've seen so far. He utilized his legs, he utilized those short dump-off passes, but he was really testing down the field whenever the defense gave him that opportunity. In his press conference, he talked about how he threw that ball to Deebo Samuel, and I thought that gave an excellent window into Brock Purdy's mind where he was able to see it. Like we kind of talk about what makes quarterbacks special, and that's something he saw he says he saw Jamal Williams coming flat-footed and knew that meant Deebo was going to be open. And I have to give respect to Deebo because I think a huge criticism he's received this year is when he knows that the ball isn't going to go to him, that he kind of half-ass runs his routes. That's been pointed out in JT O'Sullivan's videos a lot. And Deebo himself kind of admitted that he did that last year, but he was definitely still doing it this year. Now, Brandon Ayuk on Eric Armstead's podcast 2 weeks ago said that it was really important for him when he was running his clear out routes. Now that he shaded Jimmy Garoppolo because he was like, this was never an issue with our quarterback, but now with Brock Purdy, even if I just think it's going to be a clear out route, I have to make sure to turn my head around and be ready because if Brock Purdy sees an opportunity, he's going to give me the ball. Well, we saw him doing that with Deebo Samuel. He explained in his press conference that he saw Jamal Williams come down and he knew Deebo was going to have a little bit of extra space. And I was proud that Deebo got his head down or turned around, caught the ball, and was able to get that touchdown there.
That was a perfect throw. And I don't know what I'm more like amazed from that. Actually, I'm more amazed that Deebo had to run that route. I'm not amazed by Purdy throwing this a perfect throw because he's already shown he's capable of it. I just could not get over the point like, wow, Deebo Samuel ran that route. I know it's just a streak route. He doesn't have to do no shimmy things. He doesn't really have that in his arsenal route running wise. But it's like they literally just ran him like pretty much on an angled streak route. And it's like, wait, that was Deebo? Like, okay.
Like, I feel like that's why Jamal Williams settled down is because Deebo doesn't normally go that way.
And Jamal Adams just stinks in general. So, I mean, always attack him when you have the chance. But anyone who's called him a dinking dunk quarterback is ridiculous. But yeah, like you said, ever since the bye week, and I remember we talked about it after the who they play after the Jaguars, the Bucs game. It's like, dude, if he's throwing like this, like so with perfect, like literally almost damn near perfect, if not perfect, throwing down the field, then this team is really going to be unbeatable. Because he showed that before. Like, we already knew he was capable, but now it's like, Jesus.
Doing it consistently.
Next level right now that he's throwing down the – I mean, I don't know who's ever called him dinking and dunking. It's not Jimmy G.
I feel like that's been a debate, but it's been like –
that's probably debate by national media, and all of you fans just, like, really just want to hold on to it when you realize, like, dude, they're just saying that for engagement. Stop listening. I mean, someone just showed me like something about Skip Bayless. And I'm like, don't you ever send me Skip Bayless things ever again. Please do not. I do not care. As Mike Thomas said, because I do not care. I do not.
And then just for some other comments, he says, Leroy Keating says, CMC MVP period. I have to disagree. I think the last 2 games have, I think Christian McCaffrey is like an incredible player, but I don't think we can say that he's the best player on the team the last 2 games. And unfortunately, because he's a running back, which is already like a position that doesn't hold as much value, I think like for him to be the MVP, he'd have to be like by far and away the best player for every game. Because that's the thing with Tyreek Hill is every game Tyreek Hill is the best player for the Dolphins.
Yeah, if you took Tyreek Hill away from the Dolphins, I think they're dead. I think they're dead in the water. McCaffrey, you take McCaffrey away from the 49ers, McCaffrey or Purdy, they both they'll receive a significant drop off, but I think the 49ers are still will be in fairly good hands. Where I really think you didn't have Tyreek Hill on the Dolphins. It's like, well, where are you going now? You're gonna keep running it to Mostert and Achane, like Jalen Waddle. That offense is literally Tyreek Hill and 2 running back, 2-headed monster. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah, and we're not taking anything away from Christian McCaffrey. Even James Bradbury after the Eagles game praised McCaffrey and kind of said that the reason Deebo was able to go off is because the defense has to key in on McCaffrey. Christian had that amazing
I think we agreed that he was a little salty too. He's a little bit.
Yeah.
He's right, but also I think if that came from anyone else but him, we'd be like, okay, yeah, okay. But he might have sounded a little salty. He's like, dude, Deebo just freaking ran all over you guys. Just accept it.
What do you think? Tony says this Ravens game is going to confirm if the Niners truly have the upper hand. I feel like there's been too many games where people keep saying, this is going to be the ultimate test for the 49ers. I kind of feel like they have proven they have the upper hand, but it will be a good test just seeing them against the most mobile quarterback in the league and against a really good defense. Now, obviously, they're missing Mike Andrews, so I don't know how high-powered their offense is, but I do think it'll be a really fun, good game. But I'm no longer doing this is the real testing. I think they've proven that they're
that thing is always ridiculous. The real tests, they're all tests. Every game's a test, basically. All right, we're facing a lowly Buccaneers teams. Here's the litmus test. If you're a good team, you will blow them out of the waters. And they did that. And I think you should get credit when you do stuff like that. So yeah, I love this comment by Tony. This Ravens game will be the game. It really is, because this might be a Super Bowl preview. And imagine if the Niners get there and the Ravens do, which I think they will. All of a sudden, that's going to go a long way. He's like, hey, we beat these guys. We know what's up. We're seeing them again for a second time. So that's going to be huge. Yeah, because honestly, if that's the real game, that's really that can only stop the 49ers from winning out and costing them the 1 seed, which at that point, now you're back to hoping the Eagles lose again. So yeah, that's really the one. That's going to be a key one benchmark, I would say. The final one.
I completely agree. And I thought I would really quick, because